G.E.M.S is giving everyone my science. It's an acronym that I came up with to basically shed light on something I've been doing all my life. I have a motto, which is what I know, you know. And so I've always shared any information that I've had with anybody that I could. You know, if I knew something, then you would know it. And it didn't matter what the subject was. It didn't matter. I'm a student of life, and so I love to share. So G.E.M.S is giving everyone my science. And in this particular conversation, I'm talking to my good friend Mo, who has acquired an internet radio station and has some ideas to really work with artists. And so I'm going to give some advice or some feedback for what it's worth.
Hey, hey, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How about you?
I can't complain. I'm multitasking. I got like two computer screens and all over the place. So I'm gonna jump right into it. So last time we had our conversation, I talked about the company that I was working with and gonna be doing their whatever you want to call it, their manager, blah blah blah. Um, well, since that time, I really got frustrated with them just because they were basically they wanted my information and knowledge that they could get from being a Baltimorean, but then when it was time to really implement it, it was all of this other stuff. So then I'm like, so what do you really need me for? So from that, I said, you know what? I could just create my own platform, and I can just do what I want to do, and it can really be the way that I want, as opposed to using that energy for someone else and all of their stuff. So fast forward, Tina and I, Bettina and I, we bought a internet radio station. It is almost done. I actually just got finished day one of training on sound and all of that other stuff. So we had to extend it. It actually should have been ready tomorrow, but I wanted to add some things and whatever. So the official launch day is Saturday, September the 5th. So we're doing can you hear me? We're on my end.
Okay. I can hear you.
Okay. So we're doing a official launch on Saturday, September the 5th. What sets us apart from any other internet station is our platform is completely for independent artists, unsigned artists, and it's really about, again, it's still the concept of it's creative artists, it's professionals, entrepreneurs, small businesses. So on the creative side, we will not play any mainstream music at all. What we will be doing is we've created advertising packages for creative artists as well as businesses, two separate types of packages. And let's say you have one song that you want played on the station. And you want that song played every day in whatever rotation for a week. It's $10. If you want that song played for the entire month, then I believe we have it at $30 for the entire month. If you want 3 songs, so it's a price point for every package. Obviously you can't be a signed artist. 2, what I am working on now is trying to figure out how I can get the company that's building the station, say someone wanted to download your song, how can we get you guys songs downloaded and you paid to you? So yes, you would be the fee to play your music, but then if a listener said, hey, I like this song, I want to download it, that's the part that we're trying to pick our brains with today and how we can get you guys paid for that. In addition to that, we're going to link a YouTube channel. So say we're doing, every week we're going to do like a business spotlight, a restaurant of the week, small business of the week. And so say we do a podcast or a live radio interview. And say we do that for, I don't know, 15 minutes. And then we want to have a continuation of that interview so that folks can then, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. So then
Yeah,
we're
I
going
can
to
keep it going. I'm running the store, but keep talking.
Okay, so we're going to link the YouTube channel so that we can have a continuation. So say you and I are talking and we're talking about your music project, and it's all audio. And then we want to do a video feature, spotlight, artist of the week. Then we'll go to our YouTube channel and we'll do an actual face-to-face interview, so that people can then see, okay, this is this artist, this is upcoming projects, this is what they're doing, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to link the YouTube also as in addition to the whole radio platform. So what I wanted to really do is try to get a really large Zoom call going with like a whole bunch of musicians, artists. We're also creating a tab for just small businesses. So everybody's using Facebook for, like, you go on and you go to Buy Black Network in Baltimore and you can find people doing all sorts of things. However, that's great, but let's say I go on there today and I see somebody that I'm like, oh, wow, that's really cool. They do blah, blah, blah. And then I go back, I can't find them unless somebody else mentioned them or whatever. So that's the business aspect of being able to advertise with us. And it's a whole nother set of packages for that as well. But the Zoom call, I talked to another musician as well from Baltimore to try to get I really would like to do it before the launch, so that people can stream in on launch day so they can really see and hear and get a concept of what's going on. It's one thing for me to tell you just one-on-one, but for folks who don't know me and don't have that relationship, then you get to actually see what's going on. So that's what I really would love to do, is see if we can put together like a collective Zoom call. One, because so I can meet folks and kind of put a face to it. And then the other thing is to get feedback from musicians about, hey, what are you missing? What do you need? Like, that whole exchange of being able to say, okay, we're having this conversation. We're not being overshadowed by mainstream artists. This is our thing. So that's what we're doing.
Okay. Well, congratulations on the new endeavor.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so, yeah, you're pursuing your passion for, really helping to connect with and highlight, artists, unsigned artists or local artists, underground artists, and that kind of thing. So that is tremendous. So what specifically do you want my thoughts on with
So
what you're doing?
how can I mean, I know like right now because of COVID, it's not like a centralized meeting space. I did create the my Baltimore creative page or whatever. But if I don't have anybody funneling in names of, who the artists are locally that's out there. That's, it's one thing to be a hobbyist. It's another thing, obviously, when you are truly creating music and you're growing in your journey. So trying to get your input on how to kind of put this whole Zoom call together so we can have this mass conversation.
Well, the first thing is figuring out clearly and being able to state like what value you bring to artists. Like why is it that they should, take the time and be interested in coming over, to check out what you have going on. I know, of course, the overall gist is that, your goal is to create a hub as far as for artists when it comes to airplay, even though it's not mainstream airplay, but you're trying to build a community of listeners where that attention is valuable, to the artists that are there. That's the part of the value that you have to work on to really fuel the whole operation, because otherwise, even though I know that it is a niche-based idea, it's not the there's a couple things. It's, even though it's a niche-based idea, it's not the only, you're not the only person out there that's doing it, but that's neither here nor there. I'm saying that to really move forward and say, when you look at other stations, artists are working hard to get in playlists really heavily at this point, even more than radio stations, because they know that at this point, unless you're dealing with either a mainstream radio station or an internet radio station that is just like a main station where the visibility is super high, if it's not that, then you're looking to get, that's what you're looking for as far as radio. And then after that is just to get in playlists like Spotify and Apple Music playlists, because of the fact that that's the point of contact as far as where the attention is nowadays. Even more than radio, and definitely even more than internet radio. So the thing that you have to work the hardest on is realizing that, yes, it's a really great thing that you have the passion and love for the local artists, because that's definitely much appreciated, without a doubt. Artists will appreciate that. But at the same time, with the exception of just a few artists who, like, any kind of offer that they get, they just are excited about, you're gonna have to really establish what value you bring to the table that's not either already duplicated or it's, or people are fishing for other models in order to be seen and heard and that kind of thing.
I think that
the biggest thing that people, go ahead, I'm listening.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
I think that.
Well, I was just gonna say, at least to wrap up that thought. Oh, my fault. I guess it's a delay. Go ahead, you go. I didn't realize it was a delay.
It is. Yeah, one thing is for sure, I know that there are stations that target like a specific city, doing the local thing or the internet thing, and that's one thing that we are striving to do differently. So it's not just a Baltimore thing. We want artists from around the globe, actually, like around the country. For instance, so our neighbor is from Morocco. One of her good friends is a musician over there and would love to get their music played over here, but don't have the ins and the outs of being able to do that. So,
or the know-how, because
or the
like I was
know-how,
saying,
or the
yeah,
know-how, or the finances to do that.
and I say that just because what you're gonna find with many people is that's gonna be really even what I'm pinpointing on. Like, see, this is, and I'm sorry to cut you off. The part the part that is the most important and significant passion for you in this, which is being able to make as far as artists are concerned, is to be able to show love to the independent artists, right? And to really make them feel like they have a place. So that's a really good thing, and people will appreciate you for that. But that's not what's going to toe the line as far as value with this. And I say that because artists aren't necessarily interested in being a part of an environment where it's just about a bunch of artists that are like, they all have that common ground. I mean, that part makes you feel good. Like, yeah, I'm a part of this underground station, but that's not what brings the value. Where your value really is, as far as having an internet radio station, because of the model, is going to be your listening audience, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And what's going to happen is you're going to need to build your listening audience in order to convince most artists to be a part of it, or to spend money on sponsorship packages. You know, because it won't be enough value just being in a rotation with other artists. Because again, they can really kind of go different places and do that, and they are, and more than likely, unless they don't know anything, which you will benefit off of people who don't know anything, who you're like, they have no idea how to even get their music heard anywhere beyond just their finished product right now. They don't know how to get on iTunes. They don't know how to get on Spotify. They don't know anything about anything. Then, you know, you'll benefit from those people, because those people are always people that are looking for anybody who's interested in just taking their music and possibly getting it heard in any way possible. So you'll benefit from that. But you won't have enough of those kind of artists to really curate, I think, at large what you want. So it's the listening audience that you need in order for people to see the value as to why being on your station. So it won't. So like, what'll happen is, like I said, the part about the love for artists, people will appreciate, but that's not going to be the thing. People, I mean, if they can get on a mainstream or underground station, it's really all the same to them. The name of the game is how many people are going to be there hearing my music and then going from there to purchase my music, which is why I can understand why you're looking at the aspect of purchasing. To be honest, you might, and this is me speaking on that tip just for a second, to be honest, depending on cost and that kind of thing, as far as programming and building, you might wind up actually putting in a lot of work and effort and possibly finances into if your idea was to figure out a way that the person's song could be downloaded right from your platform or somewhere within your platform, you might be actually putting in a bunch of work that's not really the most profitable, because of the fact that routing people from there directly to that person's Spotify or Apple Music, or, you know, whatever those links are, would be in your best benefit as far as programming and all that, because there's nothing to do that. All you're doing is, you know, if you have landing spaces or buttons that route from what you're looking at, and it can route outward to other links, then all the work is done for you if the person is already in Apple Music, Spotify, and all that kind of stuff. If they're not, chances are they would be at some time in the near future. So again, from a business perspective, not saying you were thinking this, but just in case, you don't necessarily benefit from creating a shopping cart model or anything like it where you control that. Because you're competing against all the other companies that already have it sewed up, and the only people you'd be benefiting off of are just people that really don't know any of your whole larger goals to sustain. So yeah, what I would have, and this is just me giving you. I'm gonna just give you a little bit more of my thoughts, and then I'm gonna go back to actually answering your question. I'm gonna answer it in full. If I had talked to you before you all acquired this station, what I would have actually suggested to you would have been to just drill a podcast in the ground for like a year at least before buying a station, because of the fact that everything that you need to make this station successful is going to come more from an interactive environment, more than just the model of putting people's songs in a rotation. And I had a radio station for years. I had 2 radio stations. The only reason why mine did well during the time that it did, and I didn't monetize it. I just used it for exposure to the rest of the world, to get in my music into every continent. The niche was so narrow that you couldn't find any other music like it, period, amongst internet radio. And it was the only reason why I ranked in like the lower like thousands of like the hundreds of thousands of stations out there. But if it weren't for that, then most other models it wouldn't have peaked like it had. The way that you're going to really build a community with these artists is through interviews, is through even highlighting their music and that kind of thing, which you can also do greatly on a podcast. But it creates a listening audience. So you'll have to do a podcast either way. Like even with this radio station, you'll really want to dial in on the podcast, just because it takes you out of just rotation mode, like just rotation mode of like what traditional radio is, which is kind of how we think about it. Because like I said, again, it's going to be a good thing, but it's going to take some other stuff under that to really make being in your rotation valuable.
Yeah.
So I'll stop there and see what your thoughts about that, and then I'm gonna answer your exact question.
Yeah, so I think that being incorporated and really blending businesses and professionals. So it's one thing just you got a music station and that's all you're doing, but I think the different components which will bring in the added traffic. So if you're looking for a gynecologist, if you're looking for a Black hairstylist that's in Baltimore, or whatever, that's bringing added traffic to the artist, because it's like, oh, it's music on this page as well, which brings in, and it's highlights that will, be featured on there. So when you go to the homepage, you'll see a banner that'll pop up and it'll say, interview spotlight, which will pique somebody's interest, that sort of thing.
Let me ask you a question. I'm sorry. Let me ask you a quick question. Because it is open, as you're showing love like to businesses and that kind of thing, what would you say that makes it a broader perspective, a broader like scope? How would you label everything that you do or have in mind with this, what it falls under? Like, it's not, because I was gonna say it's not like it's Black, like if it was Black businesses or Black, like, the African American thing, the race piece is what connects it together, but that's not necessarily what you're doing. How would you umbrella all this?
So it's really, for instance, it's a different type of mop than a iHeart. iHeart is very broad, where you have all these different stations, and iHeart is the hub, right? So this is the hub where we're focusing on Baltimore, obviously, because that's where I'm from, but you have all of these different avenues or entities that can funnel into that. So it is a spotlight on the black piece. Although we don't want to just say black radio, because that's not
It's
the,
not
the yeah,
so
it's like it's kind of subtle
this
because
is. I'm sorry.
no, it's kind of subtle because um for instance, on a tab where the businesses will be listed, it'll be highlighted if you're a black owned business. Which if you go to another website, they're not going to tell you if the business or the doctor is black. But
Well, you might find. I mean, this is just my off the cuff hot take. You might find, even though you have a good heart by doing that, you might find that in practicality that might not make sense. Like when you actually put it on the model, it might not make sense because the only way you single out something as a black owned business is if that's the focus. If not, then you actually are creating a different scenario that you can't actually avoid it. Like it wouldn't be your intention, but by you singling out there, but you having more there, you're actually saying something else without saying it. You understand what I'm saying? Like if you have a website and it's multicultural, but the ones that are black owned, you highlight that as black owned. Yeah, you're showing love, but it doesn't equal the same thing as if you created a black owned business network, like where it was about that. It almost is like, it makes it like why is it singled out? And of course yours will be because you got love for your demographic. But again, it's not always going to be interpreted that way. So let me just say this, and this is the reason why I bring it up. This is the other reason why, again, not trying to take you back on your decision because you already made a purchase, you done a lot. But it's the other reason why I would have said podcast for a year, because you have a really good mindset about just helping people, like period. And to me, what I hear from you is more so a resource hub that's about helping people from all walks of life, no matter what you're doing, as long as it's something productive and something that's like, really about helping people and that kind of thing. And that's a great thing. With that though, that means that this isn't just about artists and musicians, it's about people, which is why you really want to make the whole platform about people, even if it is a radio station. It's just that the podcast would allow you to really hone everything that you need to build over the course of time without it cost you anything and without having, I don't know the format of this station, but hopefully, wait a minute, hold on 1 second for me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hold on 1 second for me.
Okay. What's wrong? Why you rocking? Oh, they gotta go to whoever live at 1602. I think it's down there on the end somewhere. Maybe on next door. How many house? A couple doors down. I'll walk it down there. You can open it. Open it.
Okay, sorry about that. So there's this is a period of time definitely where you're going to be harnessing like the full gamut of this, because you have a lot of love for a lot of people and a lot of different things, which is great. So yeah, the main thing that you need to do, honestly, is like we talked about before, you need interviews starting to come down the pipe. Mm-hmm. Because the interviews are going to be what starts creating content for you, as well as the way for you to start being able to build relationships with people. Right now, to answer your to do right now, to see what we have to go right now is from not being known to being attractive as a place for people to come and have a reason to put their interest. What you have right now is I'm a person who has created a model that is showing love to a particular kind of artist. One who isn't either is not fortunate enough to be signed or that kind of thing, or that's just not their interest, period. They're running their own careers and that kind of thing. And it's about, the unsigned artist. That's going to make some people turn their head because of just the unsigned thing. And then from there, the next thing that you have that you're saying that you're presenting is your goal is for them to be in a rotation amongst other people that are like them. And it's all about showing love to that audience. And like I said, with no listening audience, or nothing else to bring to the table other than that, then you're mostly going to get the people, like I said, that honestly you're sitting around, they don't know what to do next. And so anybody who's even thinking about things in that direction, it's there. That's a good thing for them, and that makes them excited about it. But from there, I'm guessing that your Zoom meeting, like you said, would be about connecting, building relationships, and that kind of thing. It's kind of like where we were before, where honestly, the best thing that you could do is starting to hold Zoom meetings around just topics related to artists, and just what their reality is, because that's the value that you bring to the table, the value of having a passion and caring about something. And the way to get other people interested is that you're providing a platform so that you could dialogue about the things that they care about anyway and they want to talk about. That might be picking a topic specifically, that might be picking a topic that has something specific to do, like for the draw value. You might do a topic about like artists not getting paid a lot from streaming, which will automatically get you attention because everybody knows that that's the case. It frustrates many artists, or they don't know what to do, or there are people like myself that have thoughts around what to do, but it is at least a topic of conversation. And what you would do then is take your time. Take some time to just, and it won't take you long because you can dive in and honestly in one day be up to speed. You would want to take your time, or take the time to immediately dive into the subject and learn as much as you can about it. So that way you can not only talk about it from a place of passion and where other people have things to say, but where you also have a lot to say about it too. Mm-hmm. And that will start to culture that relational piece. The thing you don't want to do is just lead with and just have a value, have a station. The goal is to get you into rotation and hopefully get you more exposure. We're still working that part out. But if we can get you, then we can at least have the part that we need to start working on it. Because, again, you're only going to get a handful of people. And the rest of the people, unless they actually see, like, why this really makes sense and not just to be amongst an environment of other people that's like them as far as friends or in the same place as far as their career, then it won't be enough pull for it to really, really be something that where it really stands out. So you don't have the listening audience yet of value, which is your real value. That's what your biggest value is with what you're trying to do. Because like I said, it only goes but so far being amongst other unsigned artists. Like that, the only other thing, which is why I'm giving you this, the only other thing that makes that valuable is the fact that unsigned artists, many of the things they have in common as far as their careers, the ups and downs of it, what it's like. And so that's how you can use that. You can use that whole world to be able to actually create value, to be able to actually create value. but yeah, that's what you would want to do. And that's the reason why I said, like I said, not at all to be a dream stifler at all, because I believe it all works together. But that's the reason why I think podcasts more, because then you can actually achieve all your goals. You can have conversations. It could be about the conversations, period, which is where you're going to build the listening audience and the interest. And you can feature people's music in there, but you don't have to work with maintaining like a full rotation, like a syndicated kind of rotation deal. And on top of that, you can focus mainly on building one-on-one relationships and interviews with people, period, that's of your interest, from artists and musicians to business owners to love for Black business owners to love for anybody that's doing anything for the community. Each installment, as many installments of that is what you want, like over and over and over again, way more than rotation of music. But the rotation of music can go alongside it. It's just that, to me, that's what you want at the forefront. And that will allow you to start being a person who becomes valuable, because you brought up valuable topics and been able to get across valuable information. And you're always doing that with every installment. But you showing up in that way is how that will build. Other than that, as far as just going from here and creating a Zoom to just get artists interested in being a part of an unsigned artist station, the only thing is just that you're going to show up in a way where you, besides the passion, you don't really have a lot to offer as far as value, and the package piece and rotation is not valuable unless there's people listening, there, like real people, and an artist can measure that or bear witness to that. That's what allows them to say, oh yeah. So you kind of will just be showing up as a person who has a passion for sure. And you will get some people that's just like, I'm just happy that there's someone that has a passion. Like, that speaks to me. But it may not be a huge number, which doesn't matter. And from there, to be honest, then you're going to be figuring out how to create value. And that's where I think the things I'm talking about should be considered, because like I said, otherwise you'll have people in rotation in no time, and they'll be happy. And then as the weeks go by, they'll realize, like, besides the fact that it's just there and it's in rotation, right now, there's not too much else coming from this. And that would make sense because of the fact that this is something that you're building. So you're trying to build it to the point where it brings everybody who's in rotation value. But until that time, it'll just be another place where people have their music. They'll be grateful for it. But yeah, you would need to actually shift your focus in order to bring more value. And it couldn't be on the value of just getting artists in rotation. A lot of people create events like that for like local artists. And I even think about like physical events that I've seen, or maybe even here and there just been to. And it's the same thing. Artists, the thing that gets them there is the fact that they appreciate that this is about a core of people that they can relate to. That's the thing that they do appreciate. That gets them there. Everybody's can relate because they're all in this like similar place, so they all have similar values and passions. So that part feels good. But then the thing that winds up happening from there, that value is created. But past that, a lot of times things like that don't sustain because they're based on just that. And then the artists at the while just are like, well, I mean, like I know who's going to be there, and it's cool, but like I'm not really getting any farther with my career with this because it's just a bunch of us as local artists hanging out, and that's cool. But at the same time, it's not really getting me anywhere. And then usually the curators are putting most of their stock in just that, in creating that kind of environment. And
So
like I said, it's a good thing.
So how does if you have an artist and they are unknown, unsigned, and they go to a mainstream station, and no one knows who they are, right? So what's the difference in, okay, I got to this mainstream station, but I mean, they played my song like one time, but it's really, and then you paid the station or whatever, or maybe they said, okay, we'll play it for free, but then it's
Well,
nothing.
here's the difference. Number one, most mainstream stations aren't at all taking anybody in that scenario. That's the first thing. Not even being able to pay them. Like, you have some scenarios where that's the case, but the first thing is mainstream aren't even interested in the type of people that you're mentioning. Number two, now people aren't even really going. People in your class, I mean, in the demographic you're talking about, aren't even going to mainstream. What they're going to now, and this is the only reason why I know I'm accurate on this one is because I actually have very little experience with it. But it's been what I've been able to sense from seeing it and hearing it and seeing. They aren't going to mainstream labels anymore or radios. They're trying to figure out how to get their music on playlists, because playlists are the new radio stations. And internet radio stations. Wait a minute. Hold on 1 second. Okay. They aren't going to mainstream radio stations. They're going to people that are putting their music and helping them to get their music in playlists, because playlists are they're the new main radio stations. And then the actual radio stations that are still around are either mainstream, they've been there, like that's just what it is, or they made out really well as far as internet radio, when internet radio was like the big smash hit because there wasn't any other things around like YouTube Music and just like and Pandora and all these other kind of things. So artists aren't actually going there, and that's why I'm saying that essentially what you would mainly get are people that actually just are at a place where they're at a standstill. They don't know anything about this industry, period. And so they'll find value there. But the other people that do know more, they won't. Your concept may not hold as much weight, because again, it's appreciated. It's appreciated that it's about unsigned artists, but that isn't enough value for an unsigned artist who's really out here knowing what they're doing and moving. It just becomes another place where you just have your music, and then you kind of face, then you definitely face the issue of not really selling packages off the bat, because
Aaron, hold on really quick.
Okay.